Alright, so I've come back, and now what I want to do is I want to set some parameters that I can control. So, for example, if I come over and pick this point, that point is set to a parameter by clicking on this and setting that parameter. So that parameter is set to 0.75. That means I can access it in my family dialog box and change it, right? So if I update it, it will update. All right, so I'm going to create a couple of new parameters just so you can see how that's done. So if I pick this point and I create a parameter for it, I can left click on this and you can see the ones that are there are available to me, so I could just assign them. But I'm going to go to new and I'll name this PO-1, right? And I'm going to make it an instance, although I don't really need to, but I'll make it an instance in case I want to access it in the other file. I'll click OK. Click OK. And now that has been assigned that particular distance. Now if I wanted this one to be the same distance from that endpoint as that one is from that endpoint, I can do that even though it's measuring from the beginning of the line. So that's the beginning of the line, and this one is measuring from the beginning over here, right? So, but I can pick this and I can say, no, I want you to go to the end of the line and I want you to be the same distance, so I'm going to apply that same parameter to it, right? So now both of these are controlled by the same parameter, and if I go to my family types dialog box and I change that PO1 to, I don't know, how about 0.15 and apply, both of those points move out to 0.15. So now I can go in and place this point on here. It's not wanting to place this. It wants to place on that one. I guess maybe it doesn't see that one. It's kind of a little weird. I don't know why it won't. Let's see if we can get it to, maybe by rotating it out or something. Who knows? Then if I come over here, it'll host on that, but it will not host on that. Alright, so it will not host on these lines. The points won't host. So I'm a little irritated with it. Oop, there it goes. Now it wants to host. It's a little strange. Okay. But what I would do is, if you couldn't get it to host, just come over here and delete it and just remake it. I mean, it's not that hard to come in and make a new reference line with the 3D snapping on and click, and then go and host your point right on there. And then we can set the same parameters that we used on that one. So if I pick that one, you'll see that it's 0.8189, so I can just go and click on that and associate that parameter with that, and then I can pick on that one, right, and it's at the other end, so I'm going to flip it to the end, and then I can put the same parameter on it, and it'll, so now all of those are kind of equal. And then I'm just going to draw some reference lines. So if I go to reference and I make sure that 3D snapping is on, I can draw reference lines between these guys. And don't worry about that little line is slightly off axis. It gives it that a lot depending on the view that you're in. And so once you get those done, you can come in and test at any time. Like, you really want to, pull things around and make sure they work. That one got kind of away from me. Like if I pull that, I want to make sure that everything is kind of sticking and moving the way that I want it to move, right? And it is. So that makes me slightly happy. And now I can go in and I can place other points on here. So I'll just go ahead and place, I think I have a point in the middle of this one, and then I have a couple of points here, right, and here, and here, and here. And so I'm going to make this guy a different, I'll make the new one, I'll make that PO2, and OK, and OK. And so now I can go in and make these guys PO2 as well. Oops, sorry, this one as well. Except I need to flip that one if I want it to stay at that end, right? And PO2-1, right? So now that's there. And then this guy can do the same thing. And this guy can do the same thing. And so now all of those things, now you just have sort of a little rig that you can play around with. So if I go to model line, right, and I have my 3D snapping on, I can pretty much draw whatever I want. The only thing I want to make sure of is that I'm not, hacking my paper apart where I can't, where it will fall apart if I cut something, right? So I could have a flap there. We can go ahead and draw that closed. And then, I had another flap. I'll draw the same one up here. I had another one that was going kind of from here to here to here to here. And once you have the model lines drawn, you can actually tab select and pick one of them, and you'll see that you get generic model projection, and you can get hidden lines, right? So you can change that to a hidden line type. So when you pick it and it shows, right, it will be dashed, right, like that. So I can now delete all this because I've copied it all over, right? And I have my new component there that I can place, right? So maybe I actually put another model line right there because I like that. And I get rid of this one and draw another model line from here to here and change that model line, the tab in to get it, so tapping the tab key, change that model line to a hidden line. Actually, hidden line projection, really, it's not a cut hidden line, although it doesn't really matter. And then I can load that into a project and use it. So if I go to File, Save As, I'll just save it as C line 2. Click Save, and I'll load that into the project, into the lecture adaptive. And if I go to my pattern 2, and I'll just make a copy of this guy over here. And if I edit this family, I can just come in and pick that, and I should be able just to change it to C line 2, which is what I just made, right? And if I finish mass, there it is. And I could go in and turn the masses off and you could see the dashed lines. So if I go to VV in here and turn off my mass just for a second, click OK, you can see the dashy lines, right? And so that's a new pattern. Okay, so that's how I made that one. You can then just fill in the surfaces for this guy. It's basically the same thing with the surfaces filled in. All right.